Hi Fox. In a recently uploaded video I did some wood turning on my Africa style wood lathe, and I think it's time to build a new and way better wood lathe. But before I start the building process, I want to address some comments that I had on other videos where some people said I'm making mistakes here and there, and I'm doing this wrong and I'm doing that wrong. So first things first, I am a tinkerer. I am not an expert by any means. So everything what you see me doing is based either on experiences or on trial and error, not on knowledge. So I want to make that clear. If you want to see a guy who does everything right and a guy who knows what he is doing, this is not the channel for you. Same applies also for the wood lathe build. I have no plans and I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm building it on the fly, you could say. So if you like to see a guy making a ton of mistakes, stumbling his way through the build, enjoy it. If you're expecting professional content, I have to say sorry, guys, this is not going to happen. I'm starting the build with the bed of the machine, so the lathe bed, and for this I have here two pallet rack beams. They are damaged, so they are no more safe and I can make something out of it. I think this is a good material choice. First step is to cut the bed to length, or these beams, and cut some spaces or stretches to keep the two bed parts apart. These are the stretchers to keep the bed halves apart. So they will go in like so. And since welding means distortion, I want to use nuts and bolts instead. perfect. Let's do the other side. If it looks straight, it is straight, right? All the bolts are in and tightened up. Okay, they are maybe a little bit long, but again, I use what I have and it's fine for the purpose. Maybe I have to take away some material here because it could be a problem with the nut of the tailstock. And yes, there is a reason why there is no spacer in the center of the bed, but more of that later. Next comes the headstock, and I have already ordered the main drive shaft of the lathe. A friend of mine machined it because I don't own a metal lathe, and I have purchased a 4-jaw chuck on Fleabay. It cost me 60 euros. Also, I ordered 2 pillow bearing blocks, 30 millimeter. I know these are not the best choice for a lathe, but they have to do. They are cheap, 7 euros per piece, and if one of these bearings break, not a big deal, I can swap it out. Here is the part where the tool rest gets mounted onto. I don't know the name for the thing. And I'm aiming for a maximum diameter, workpiece diameter of 40 centimeters. That means I have to make sure that I have at least 20 centimeters from this point to the center point of the drive shaft. Here. Looks quite high, but better too big than too small. Unfortunately, it is too wide for my metal bandsaw, so I have to take out the big boy. Looks right to me. And this flange is where the belt pulley gets mounted onto. And I use these scrap pieces as spacers, just because I have it. I'm so glad to have this workstation. Okay, so far so good. Pretty hefty. And since it's getting dark out here, let's clean up the mess and call it a day. By the way, here is a little side project that I've been working on. I want to build a new table saw, a bigger and heavier table saw like this. And here is the main table saw arbor, and I painted it, and I have bought new bearings. So this is also a project I've been working on. Good morning! It's the next day and let's see where we left. Okay, I think the next step is to drill and tap the holes here to fasten the thing in place and cap off the ends. I will go for 6 bolts and 2 locking pins to keep the alignment. You know what? I quite like this machine from the early 80s. It's still kicking. And these 2 pins help me with the alignment, just in case I have to take it apart again. I'll leave them out for now. Perfect. This gives me wiggle room to adjust the drive shaft. Yes. Now let's cut some steel end plates. And just in case you want to know, these are spare parts for a concrete mixer. So they are meant to go inside the concrete mixing pot. I had to change the nozzle. Game over for this one. And just for comparison, old nozzle, new nozzle, perfect cut. crooked. It's time for grinding. And here comes the flap disc. And you may wonder why I'm closing it in the first place. That's because the motor which I have in mind for this lathe does not fit here inside anyway. So what is this void good for other than collecting sawdust? I tighten the bolts just a little bit so that this thing can move if it wants to. And now I will hammer the pin in, but not fully, just a little bit to align everything, and I can hammer them in all the way when everything is done. Yeah, that's enough for the moment, just in case I have to take it apart again. And now I can fully tighten the bolts. And I think I have to come up with something fancy schmancy to align the drive shaft. So here's my idea. I have made a jig to go onto the arbor on the 30mm shaft here, and it also fits onto my aluminium ruler here. And to assure that both of these are exactly the same length, I cut it all in one piece and then I cut it in half. So now I can be sure this and this is the same. And now I will put it onto the shaft, put my ruler on, and I can measure from left to right if the shaft needs to be adjusted up or down, left or right. I hope that makes sense. First I have to check if my center line is in center with the chuck. Which it is. I scribe the line here so that I know where this bearing needs to go. Now I have set up my jigs here, and I will put my aluminium ruler on top and measure over the whole length. So here it is. I had to put a weight on it to counterbalance it, and as far as I can tell, we are bang on. So yeah, here and here, yeah. Okay, perfect. Now I do the same sideways, which can be more tricky, and I can see right away that we are far off. So I know my center point is correct, so I don't have to move this pillow block. Instead I have to move this pillow block to this side. Let's check it. On the line. Check it at the end. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. That's good enough. So, okay, let's check. Yes, still on center. Perfect. That's how I tune up a lathe headstock, at least for the wood lathe. Okay, I will leave it as it is for now. And next comes the tailstock. And as I said before, I'm pretty sure I have to remove some material here to get the tailstock clamping mechanism in. But since this video is already too long, see you in part 2 of the build.